Okay. Hey everybody, this is The Real Romi. I'm Romi and I have Amanda Kuda here with me. This is a raw live interview here in Austin.
Yeah.
We took the time to come up. It is hot, so we might be sweating during this interview, but it's fall.
Yeah.
We're here.
Well, it's fall, but still summer in Austin.
It's still, that's fine. I was greeted with a book, which I'm really excited about. So I found you online after having one of your friends on the Mod the Day podcast.
Okay.
And so then you popped up and I saw kind of this whole sobriety journey. And I've been on my sobriety journey since I was 13.
Yeah.
It's been a big part of my life.
Yep, for sure.
So I was drawn to your page, saw that you had the book. So this is Unbottled Potential. Perfect name.
Yeah, I love it.
Because that's what
it
is.
just came to me. I was like, oh man, I know this is it. This is what I'm supposed to teach right now.
Yeah. So this is a year now.
Yeah, it's
that
been
this
out a year.
been published.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I know. What a wild journey. Just such a childhood dream come true in a way I never could have imagined.
Writing my book right now. It's a childhood dream. And it is taking me a really long time.
Oh, yeah. Because it's like intensive therapy to write your own book.
It's super healing. It's really emotional. And I'm just like coming to probably like maybe 6 more months of it, but it's taking me. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations to you. This is part of like bucket list.
Yep.
Right. I'm a year sober as of this last month.
Oh my gosh.
I've gone on and off.
Sure.
Back on to a year, and my journey's like very interesting. But tell me, how did you get here? You're also a coach. Are you a sobriety coach?
I am I'm a life coach that focuses on people who want to quit drinking. And
awesome.
I specifically work with people who are casual and social drinkers who don't feel necessarily congruent with going into a recovery space, but they want to quit drinking. And because it's so societally ingrained, it's hard. It's freaking hard. And we all use alcohol to self-soothe. And that means we lack skills when we want to quit. And so the way to make it sustainable is to get those skills that you need. And because I had no one to help me, I had to figure it out by myself. And I just happened to have a background in coaching. And I realized this is what I'm supposed to teach in the world right now. And all of the pieces.
Did your clients kind of come to you organically that way? Or did you go out there and kind of put yourself in that space where they knew to come to you?
Oh, super organic. Because Romi, I was afraid to be online, even though I'm a very outgoing person. When I first started my journey sharing, about my personal growth, my spiritual journey online, I was still drinking at the time. I was this little party girl who, I had just moved to Austin and I had thought that Austin would change my life. And there's this beautiful phrase, it's wherever you go, there you are. And I had to change my life.
Yes.
So I got to
Amen.
Austin.
It doesn't matter where you go.
It does not matter. And so I got to Austin thinking that I would be able to just start fresh when I was here. And I fell right back into the same kind of see and be seen party crowd, which is huge here.
Huge.
I had no idea. And I did it for about a year and I realized this is exhausting. This isn't what I want. I'm not doing the things I want to do. I'm not living the life that I want to live. I'm not feeling the way that I want to feel. And so I was at that point on a definite spiritual and personal growth journey, like reading all the books, doing all the things, journaling, meditating, chanting, whatever, mantras,
breath work, all of it, affirmations, all the things.
Yes, but it didn't matter how many of these like positive behaviors I added to my life on the weekend, I was going the other way and the scales were just always uneven. And so finally I had to ask myself, like, is it possible that it's not about me doing more of all these great things, but doing none of this really unproductive thing? And I fought that really hard because alcohol is such a social lubricant, such an emotional anesthetic. And I didn't want to quit drinking. I just wanted to cut back. But every time I tried, that was so hard. It took up all my mental space. So finally I quit and I quietly started talking about it online. And I just realized at some point I needed to, actually a guy I was dating really encouraged me to just rip off the Band-Aid and share about it really openly. And that's when people started coming to me and saying, me too, can you help me? And so that's kind of like the long short of the story of how I got into coaching.
I do identity coaching and I've been doing this over the last year, and getting into coaching is, like I had an idea of what I was going to be coaching in. I like branded it. I like verbalized it all. I put it on paper. It's not what I'm doing.
Nope.
Okay. It's not at all. I just had to do a whole new shoot, like rebranding. I paid for all this like writing that like I'm not even going to use. Because what happened, like you, is organically my life went somewhere else.
And it evolves.
And so when I started sharing the same thing, I started getting those clients that were interested and connected to what I was sharing, to what you're sharing. And I have a few clients I do coach that are trying to get sober. AA scares them.
Yeah.
The church scares them. God scares them.
Yeah.
So all these things feel against them, right? And so I think when people think of life coaches too, it's like this idea of what it is. And so like when I say I'm an identity coach, it's about finding your identity. And sometimes your identity is lost if you're not in a clear head or a clear space.
Yeah, if you're always
checking out, you don't know who that person is. But I found, like you said, which I love, is that like even writing this week, I was writing about it when I actually just started writing about when I got sober a year ago. I'm in that chapter right now.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because it was like, as soon as I got sober and started incorporating all my healthy things that I was doing anyway, they really came into play in a different way.
It just clicks into place.
You have to have all of it. You really do. And your life really does change.
Yeah. And it's not to say that those things, you know, aren't effective when you're drinking.
Yeah.
But if you're drinking consistently, and most people drink in that gray area. Most people aren't the every now and again, just casual light, have a, you know, glass of champagne at a wedding, right? Most people aren't that. And so the reality is that most people are living in that gray area where, or in the darker gray area where you're stifling your potential, you're stifling your inner voice. And so it's always like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. If you're doing all of these positive activities, they just, it's not that they're ineffective. They're just never really taking hold until you pull out the thing that's kind of diluting them and causing them not to.
It numbs a certain part of your journey, right? It numbs it. So for me, I found like when you say like the unbottled potential, which is like an obvious, right? Like you have so much potential. You're not allowing it all to come out. There's parts of it that by 5 o'clock at dinner and drinks is gone. Right.
Exactly.
At the event that you're going to that weekend, you've just lost that day of like potential, right? I've seen just the amount of school I've been able to get through, the amount of writing, my time, my getting up at 4 a.m. to work out. These things don't happen if I'm drinking.
No, not at all.
They just don't happen, you know? And so what I'm capable personally of doing sober, and it wasn't that I quit because I was drunk all the time or that I was like an alcoholic in that way.
Yeah.
I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Like I'm an addict, but it wasn't.
So there was always the potential
for
to swing into
total
that space,
potential
right? for any of us,
right? But I wasn't in that space when I quit. And I think the conversation I like having with a lot of people right now, and I see it's happening. You're not getting to the point of that low to quit. People are quitting.
Yeah.
There's a shift, right?
There is,
in
and it's
sobriety.
So awesome. Yeah.
Why do you think that's happening?
You know, I think it's number one, just collectively as a society, we're just waking up when we want better for ourselves. But for better or worse, I think that, you know, what happened to us with COVID in 2000 really helped that shift.
I do too.
Because what I saw as a coach in that space, my business took off. That's how I got a book deal, because of everything that happened during those couple of years. Because what happened is people were locked at home. So they had one of 2 paths that they took. They were either not socializing, and everything was uncertain. So that was really uncomfortable. So they really leaned into their drinking habits and then quickly realized, whoa, this is scary and not sustainable. I don't want to do this. Or they realized, hey, I don't have to drink right now because I'm not socializing. What if I took this as an opportunity to re-examine my relationship with alcohol? And the other part of that perfect storm was all of a sudden it became a much friendlier space to talk about this openly online.
Yes, it did.
And so there were people like me and a lot of women, honestly, who were really sharing openly and not anonymously about both their recovery and addiction stories, or just their, for me, like elective sobriety is what I call it.
I love
journey.
That.
And it was empowering. It like gave a permission slip to people.
That's what it does. And I think the more I post about it, and I post about it a lot, honestly, because I just want to continue to give permission. I want people to like follow pages like yours or mine or whoever else is on. There's a lot of people putting it out there that are saying like, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay to be sober. It's just as cool.
Yep.
There's a lot that's going to happen in your life that's beautiful from it. It's okay not to be, right? But like, there's a whole world out there.
Yeah.
That not enough people are like presenting to you, because it's such an image of like the party and the social and the clubs and the nightlives and the restaurants, and all it is like drinking.
Yeah.
So who's showing the picture of like what life looks like without that?
Exactly. And it's almost become glamorous and edgy. And I'm someone who just is kind of rebellious. And for me, rebellion used to mean going out and drinking and partying. And today, rebellion is like, watch me go to, I went to this huge hip hop music festival last year.
Sober.
And sober. And hip hop music is getting high and getting drunk. And here's me singing, screaming at the top of my lungs like a feral college student, songs about getting drunk. And I am sober. And I'm like, this is the most fun I have ever had, ever. And it was so cool to just be present in that moment and be in the experience.
I love that you said that. I really love that you said that, because I come from reality TV. Mm-hmm. I come from being the party girl.
Yes.
So in my early 20s, 30s, right? I'm in my 40s now. That's not me, but I thought I was so badass and so rebellious, like you. I just had this like, I'll do whatever, right? Yes. I'm going to dance on that table and I'm going to end up on the floor with like concussions and, my heels. And I think today, and I'm like, that rebel in me is still alive.
Yeah.
She's just like, you know what? I'm going to walk into any of these situations fully sober and watch me.
Yeah.
Watch me be okay. And that's the rebellious thing right now is to be like, I can go into these social situations and be sober. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually okay.
Yes. And it's so badass. Like, it's a powerful feeling.
It's so powerful.
And it's also nice to be able to go into some of those experiences too and be an adult and say, you know what, this one's not for me.
No. And I leave early.
Yes.
That leaving early used to be like, it was the people pleasing. Mm-hmm. I think that alcohol really was an issue for a lot of people. It's people pleasing. It's, you don't feel comfortable in your skin around people. You put yourself in situations you wouldn't be in if you were sober, right? So you continue to do that, once you remove it, when you get strong enough, and I feel that way, I'm sure you do as well, to be like, this doesn't serve me.
Yeah.
I can leave. I don't even have to come.
Yeah.
You don't have to invite me.
Yep.
Like, I'm 100%. Good. I'm not hurt.
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss anything. Like, that took a while to get to, but I want people to know that is available. And there's like a rebellious spirit in that, just being like, this is not for me. I'm not going to be up till 10 drinking with you guys.
Yes. It feels so good. And it feels so much more authentic to say, I do what I want to do now, no longer what I feel like I have to do because of FOMO or what I'm obligated to do because someone asked me or whatever. It's just a whole different way of coming through to my life.
100%. And I think people don't like realize that kind of mentality behind it and that headspace. And so when we go into like identity or people that are doing like their coaching to figure out who they are, you have to remove that part sometimes, and maybe not permanently.
Yeah.
But to be still with yourself. So in meditation, like even some of my clients, they struggle with meditation, that quietness, being alone in their head, being in their thoughts. Well, if we're drinking after work, and we're numbing our,
you're using it to shut off,
then meditation is going to be really difficult for you, right? And so I always tell them like it's a mind practice. The same way we work out our body, we have to work out our minds.
Yeah.
And be comfortable, right?
Yeah, like, in the stillness, in the silence, in the rumination of our thoughts.
In the pain.
Yeah.
Like that's the other part that like is hard. And I will say this has been a really hard year and a sober year for me. I have no choice but to feel it all. I can't like...
There's nowhere for it to go.
There's nowhere for it to go, but like through me.
And I mean, to be fair, you could scroll it away. You could Netflix it away. You could, screw it away. You could eat it away.
That's the addict.
And it's so like, this is not the glamorous part, but it's the powerful part of, it sucks to hurt. It sucks to be in pain. But if you want to feel joy, like true joy, and really experience happiness, you also have to be willing to suffer the other side of it. It's like, a couple of years ago when I had just gotten this book deal. So my life is at the high of the high. Like the coolest thing that's ever happened to me has happened. And my soul dog passes away. And I am crushed, so crushed. It's the saddest, most tender pain you will ever feel. And so I'm over here with the most joyful thing that's ever happened to me and the biggest grief. Yeah. And it was this really beautiful moment of, wow, I get to feel this because I was lucky enough to feel pure, uninhibited love for this creature. And my payment on the other side to show the reverence for that is I have to be broken. Yeah. And what else you do? And your heart is breaking, but just let it break. And it sucked. It was so terrible, especially because I wanted to just feel the joy, the happiness. Yeah. But you can be both. You can be elated and broken at the same time. And it was such a powerful year because I'd never had the opportunity to like feel on that spectrum before.
Yes. Well, so I had a woman on our podcast who said, God gives you two hands for a reason so that you can hold both, right? And I thought that was so beautiful. Ooh. And like one of my favorite quotes is from, I love the movie Vanilla Sky. It's my favorite, one of my favorite movies. And he talks about like the bitter and the sweet. So like you can't, sweet and sour. You can't enjoy the sweet if you don't know the sour. Yes. The sweet is never that good if you don't know the sour. Yes. Right? And I always have to remind myself of that. Like the only reason you can have so much joy and success and good things is because you know the other end of it.
Yeah, you're willing to take the other,
feel the other end of it to enjoy the good in it, right? And so it's like a reminder. And anytime now, like how long have you been sober?
Coming up on 8 years.
That's amazing.
Nuts.
8 years.
8 years. So wild. That was never the intention, and it's just the way.
Do you have any like what does that journey look like for you? I know is it a day by day? Is this what you want for the rest of your life? Is this like,
early on, I was really conscious about not saying forever because I think that's internally intimidating. It's like, you could just create this chaos of, well, what about the vacation to Italy? Well, I didn't have a vacation to Italy planned. Like, I didn't even have my passport when I quit drinking. So what am I future tripping about? But I was really intentional not to say forever. But also for me, outside of the recovery space, I think that a day by day thing was not the best approach for me because that made it a throwaway goal. So for me, if I screwed up one day, then I just would start over. So I had to set for myself like significant yet achievable stretch goals. Yes. So I started at 30 days and I got to the end of that and I thought, you know what, we need to double down. I'm going to do 90 days total. And so that's what I always really recommend. Start with something small that doesn't freak out your brain, but then add it on to where you can really stretch into it, because the reality is no matter what you do, I don't care if it's weight loss, meditation, running, alcohol, changing your diet, you're really not going to see a transformational change in 30 days. And people want that instant gratification. They want rainbows and butterflies and clear skin and 10 pounds off your body and a spiritual awakening.
And then they give up.
Right, they give up.
Yeah.
And you really have to
It's consistency.
It's consistency.
It is.
And it builds over time. And at one point, you'll just wake up and you'll see something and you won't be able to unsee it. And I don't think you should stop until you get to that point where you have this aha that you're like, wait a second, I can't go back to that life anymore. No. I don't have a desire to. No. Not the point where you're like, because it comes up for all of us, and especially you know this. Oh well, just one wouldn't hurt.
Right.
I just
I've had those moments.
Or it's a special occasion.
Yeah, I'll just have a glass of champagne.
Oh yeah, and what does that do? Trickles down.
Yeah, then you're done. Yeah,
it goes right, puts you right back where you started. And so I just really always encourage everyone to stretch it out, especially if you're someone who the one day at a time approach doesn't resonate with you. It might be because it's a throwaway goal for you. Like it works for some people, but if it's not working for you, set a stretch goal and make it completely just non-negotiable. Like you are doing it.
That
90
word
days.
right there is what I use in like all my sessions.
Yes.
What are your non-negotiables?
Yeah.
Like make it clear. Figure those out. Yes. And once you figure those out, they're non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
Right. That's such a key thing. And I think, even for me, like I didn't even know what I was doing getting sober again. I had gotten sober on and off through my own addiction because I used alcohol, like you said, and like most do, out of honestly not knowing that I had social anxiety. I thought I was the most social. I mean, you can put me in front of a camera, you can film me all day, I'll dance on tables. Like I thought that was who I was. Yeah. This is where identity comes in. That wasn't who I was. In fact, I was actually hiding from who I was, using alcohol to become who I thought I was, right? And realized quickly that like I don't actually like being around a lot of people or talking to a lot of people. It's actually very uncomfortable for me. So when you removed alcohol from that, I was able to see that. And then I got sober to support a partner. And I fell in love with the lifestyle. I fell in love with being sober. Yeah. For him, I thought. Yeah. But it was really for me. Yeah. And so it wasn't me getting sober because I needed to get sober. I was doing it for someone I loved. And then it turned into like, oh my God, I love who I am sober. And so even getting sober again, like when you say potential, and I want to ask you about this, like, I don't know what my future looks like with it. I don't say anything either. Yeah. In terms of, I know I just did a year. I know I have no desire. Yeah. I don't think I could do what I do in my life right now with that relationship. Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't. I also love that my daughter is watching me be sober.
Yeah. How old's your daughter?
She's 8. And her seeing and knowing that I don't, that's the rebellious side of me too. Yeah. that's like, mommy's a badass.
Exactly. You know, like, you would be surprised like what little imprints we had, you know? And it's not that I think drinking is a rite of passage. Yes. I'm glad that I did it because it showed me what that path looks like and gave me clarity to choose a different path that's better for me. And I think I always tell my clients, like, I don't tell you to not drink and, you know, how empowering it is for your kids so that they won't do it. Like, they should probably try and experiment.
Right. I think it gives them more of an option.
Yeah. That
I could drink or I could not drink. So like, she sees her father drink, she sees me sober. There's options. There's not one way of doing the life.
Yeah.
Right?
And you don't have to be like a fuddy-duddy or a loser or whatever because you're not
drinking. Right. And so I love that she sees that. And she told me in the car one time, she's 8, and she's like, I'll try it one day, Mom. I just want to see what it tastes like. And I was like, that's fine, bub. One day you'll try it and either you'll enjoy it or you won't. Mommy doesn't like it, you know? And I come from alcoholic parents, very difficult. I never want to be that.
Yes.
I just don't want to be that. I don't want to be that health-wise. I don't want to age like that. I don't want to waste my life the way I've watched my family members do.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a choice of definitely the potential. And I think that so many don't realize when they think they're giving up so much, how much they're gaining.
Yes. I want to ask you a question about that, about, you know, growing up with parents who are addicted, because I saw a parent and a step parent struggle with addiction. And I think that for rebellious, high achieving, really capable people, the messed up thing that we do, and I wonder if this resonates with you, is it's like, I'm going to drink, but I'm never, because I have this like self-control and rebellion, I'm never going to let it get that bad. And as long as I don't, I'm good. And I've taken a different path. But that's still not a reason to stay on that path. Did you ever like feel that? I feel like I watched them and I was like, that's bad. Yeah. Right. And then I knew I was bad at times, but I think as I got older, it was more just, it's hard to watch alcoholics, like real alcoholics, not have their life. To watch my parents just not, you know, to be around them and then to have my daughter and I just went, I don't want anyone to look at me like this. I don't want to be this. I don't know that, like, I feel like I am rebelling against my family. I feel like I am rebelling against my parents and I'm okay with that. I look at them and I go, like, no. Yeah. Well, and really what we're rebelling against when we make this decision is mediocrity, because I think that if you want to live an extraordinary life, you have to stop doing what ordinary people are doing.
Thank you.
And
Amen.
ordinary people are out there drinking and pretending like it's not a big deal. And I have such more infinite access to my potential in every way: social, emotional, romantic, spiritual, professional, like everything opened up for me and I will try my best to explain it, but almost inexplicable ways. Like, you can't see it until you felt it, and you can't know how much something like alcohol, that's seemingly insignificant, seemingly harmless, seemingly doing nothing to your life, especially if you're already really successful, you have no idea how much it's tethered you to like just good enough.
I like that you said that really quick, is that even if you have a really successful life and you're drinking, there's no reason to quit, right? You're successful. Everything's well. You have a great husband, wife, whatever, kids, job. You still have no idea how much more potential you have.
Absolutely.
Spiritually, like emotionally, with your relationships, with your children, with your job, when you remove it.
On every level. And I could just feel, it's almost like I was like in like a giant slingshot, right? And when I was drinking, I was pulling back and pulling back and pulling back. And I was just resisting all of the excellence I had in my life and resisting being my truest self, resisting, you know, how far I could go in my career. And once I released that tension, my life shot forward in fast and miraculous ways. I mean, I've been alcohol free now close to 8 years, but in 3 to 5 years of that, everything transformed. I got a freaking book deal, right? That I'd been dreaming about my whole life. And it happened with, of course I showed up and I tried, but it happened with such ease that it was almost unbelievable. And that's the beauty of what can happen. Like, you just manifest things differently when you're vibrating at a higher energy.
I mean, I have wanted to write my life story for so long, and it wasn't until this last year that I got sober, that I had the time, that I had the mental space, that I said, I'm doing this, right? And that's what I've been doing, that I got into therapy, that I got into breath work, that I got into meditation every day, that I was able to explore this other side of me. I am Christian, right? My faith was able to not be ignored, right? By numbingness and like the busyness of life. And unbelievable. Like even when I quit, it's like I'm back in school. I finished coaching school. I'm in nutrition school. I'm writing a book. I'm doing the YouTube page. I'm raising it. Like what I have been able to do in the last year. When you talk about unlocking the potential, like you saw that happen for you, and also the connections, my friendships, they are less is more, but they're good.
Yes.
You know, they're real.
Yep.
They're real connections. My conversations with people, intimacy is very different. I drank away my emotions with people intimately my entire life. Now, as an adult, I'm experiencing what it's like to be intimate with people without being drunk. Yeah. That's a whole new level.
Whole new wild level. Also very powerful.
It's so powerful.
A little unnerving at first, for sure.
Yes, but then when you get into it, you're like, this is like, I know myself. Yeah. I know my body. I'm okay.
Yes.
You know, and like anyone watching and listening, like that's a different space to get to. Then we went out to dinner, we got drunk, we came home, we had sex.
Yes.
It's just different.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think that there is anything in my life that I couldn't look at and think this is infinitely better without alcohol. Every aspect of my life I look at, and that's, you know, what I share is how you really just don't know how good things can get until you get out of your own way and stop doing the normal average thing and just give yourself a chance to like step into, you know, one of the pivotal moments that caused me to look at this when we talk about identity. I was dating a man at the time right before I quit drinking, and we were driving home from dinner one night, and he kind of paused and he looked at me and he said, you know, Amanda, I feel like when we're talking that you're being, and he like paused and struggled for the word, and he said, calculated. And I felt like such a powerful punch in the gut because that hurt.
Yeah.
But I was also had enough like insight to be like, whoa. Yeah. You're right.
You're right. Yeah.
And I dedicated in that moment, not for him, but for me, that I was going to stop freaking doing that. I was going to stop saying and acting how I thought people wanted me to be, how I should be. And it's just like you know, how you should be the party girl, how you should be the fun one, how you should be outgoing. I had created this character that I was so good at playing, I didn't even know I was doing it until he pointed it out.
That's the identity part, though. That's a part that, like, we attach ourselves to the identity that we've created for so long as children, which is a coping mechanism, into our teenage lives when we, you know, we're conditioned a certain way. And a lot of it just is us putting that identity onto ourselves to protect ourselves without even doing the work to know who we are, right? And unfortunately, we live in times where, as we're getting older, people weren't paying enough attention to that. You know, your identity was so wrapped around so many other things, so that when you do take a break, and like often when I ask my clients, like, what do you identify as? Like, who are you? They are like deer in headlights. I said, what's the best, like, what is the one quality of you that you like, that you love about your identity? And what is one quality about your identity that you wish you could let go? Yeah. And I'm telling you, people are just like, I don't know.
Yeah, because we become, I'm a mom, or I'm a banker,
yes,
or I'm
that's
a
not
whatever.
That's not the identity I'm talking about. Yeah,
it's who are you here?
Who are you? Like, who are you? We're not identifying. Like, and I am a mom, right? I'm not just a mom. Right. And so I've been able, through my sobriety and the work I've done, figure out like who I actually am. And some of that journey, you know, it's painful. And letting go of who you thought you were. When you say breaking up with like alcohol, you also break up with someone you thought you knew. Oh yeah. Like, you break up with yourself.
Absolutely. You have to renegotiate that version of you and decide what parts of that party girl who danced on the tables, you know, what part of her was real. Right. And how do I allow myself to be brave and be that if I want to, or if that's really a part of who I am authentically? And who do I also need to let go of? Who do I need to say, well,
like, who's not gonna allow you to transition into that? Who's gonna hang on to the old you? And I know in sobriety, that's a big thing. You gotta let go of people if they're not willing to let you grow, right? Yes. And so often no one wants to let go of that old you. So when you do change, you get a lot of pushback. Yeah. You know, you're not this, you're not that. Friends disappear. You're not serving them anymore, but you weren't serving you.
No, there's, I think this quote is from Wyatt Wood Small, and he says something to the effect of, people don't like it when you change because the ways in which they manipulate you no longer work. Amen. And wow, that's effed up. But we always do these like micro manipulations to people to get our way, to make ourselves feel more comfortable. And if only it's like, they don't like it when you quit drinking because they're not able to make sense of their own habit anymore, and that's confronting to them,
yes,
then so be it. You
yes.
know, that doesn't mean that person is bad or wrong or evil, or that they weren't special and important in your life for a reason in the season that they were there. But maybe it means that at this season you two grow apart, and that's okay. And maybe you come back together.
Okay.
But maybe you don't.
And I think people have this connection to, like, they've known people for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Family, they're family. I've been friends with them for 20 years. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter how long, if it's your mom, if it's your sister, when it's your personal journey and you're hitting your potential in your life and you're breaking up with this relationship that you've had with yourself and your addiction or alcohol, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
You matter. You've got to matter because we spend so much life like pleasing the partners, the moms, the dads, the work, whatever it is. Like, when do we stop and like love ourselves?
Yeah. It's so hard because we do have this sense of loyalty or, even worse, of like not wanting to be alone. But I promise you, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, that if those relationships fall away, there might be a period of loneliness, and that's probably important because you need time to go inside and be quiet. But there's also, I met with a friend yesterday who we connected 4 years ago. We are the closest friends, soul sisters for sure. When we get together, it's something magical happens.
Yes.
And we met because of a random comment in a Facebook group. And your people will find you. You will find them in miraculous ways. Someone will fill the seat on the bench that someone else left. And it will all fall together, but it feels hard when it's the lonely period.
Thank you for saying that. And like, again, anyone listening who's like, that's just too scary, right? Like, it does, the seat is replaced, right? Like, people will come, people will show up, you will land where you're supposed to land. I am like the most antisocial, loneliest season of my life right now. And it's the best season I've ever had. Yeah. I am so okay by myself. And for me, that feels like such a rebellious, like such a strength, right?
A new thing.
It's very new. It's very new, and I'm very content with it.
Yes.
And so I love that, like, there's more women, writing about this, sharing about this. I do see it on social media a lot right now. I see a big movement in Austin.
Yes.
I do, with people just being really proud of being sober. And I think it does look a little different. I had one of my friends was on here with her store, and they do all the non-alcoholic, like, so I was like, I had them on here, and I just thought, we're putting more of this out there for people. There's bars, there's, new drink offers, restaurants are offering it. There's definitely a shift, where people are choosing this lifestyle. Yeah. And I think I hope it continues. I think it's beautiful because I think it does connect people.
Yeah.
On a much different level.
I think there's never been, when I started this journey 8.5, 9 years ago, just kind of contemplating it and then committing to it, there wasn't, like, if you wanted a non-alcoholic drink, you're getting a sugary ass thing mixed with syrup, or you're getting an O'Doul's. And nobody is talking about it. It was a very lonely and edgy thing to do. And now it's cool. There has never been a better time to test out this lifestyle.
Thank you.
So
never.
Why not?
Yeah.
Just give it a try.
Never has
there. Such a friendly space.
Yes, it is. That's such a great way of saying it. This is a really good time. It's cool. There's so many options. You know, there's like early night things that go on. There's just so much of a social scene right now without it. So you don't have to be a loner like me. You know, there are options of what that looks like. So in terms of you having the book out, you're coaching, where are you at in life right now?
Yeah, I am in a space where I really am just called to hold space for people in a bigger way. You know, I really work with women who are high achievers and who are on a spiritual journey and feel like alcohol is holding them back in both of those things. And so my book is a really great way to kind of get a feel for how I show up and what I talk about and what I believe. And then I have programs in one-on-one coaching for women who want a little more support and guidance in that, because it is difficult. And I think that the way I approach it is really novel, because it's not just about, kind of like we started, it's not just about alcohol. It's about how do you fill the space of that as a coping mechanism so that you feel really rooted and competent and have a really grounded sense of self-worth, and you know that you can handle anything life throws at you. And I think that's my sweet spot, because I really excel in helping people find that and find that confidence, so that alcohol can become insignificant. So it can just become a thing you don't even think about, and that's really cool.
When it's there, it's a great space. Yeah. Would you feel? I feel, but I'm curious what you feel. That spiritual connection, whether it be a Christian God or any God or your own personal God, or I'm big on quantum physics, right? Like Joe Dispenza and all that is like massive life-changing in my life. But like, I always tell my clients, like, if you don't find some spiritual connection within, it's going to be so hard.
I agree. And I think that even, like you said, even if that is your inner guidance system and listening to your intuition more powerfully, I explain it like this, like that connection is always there and it brings you a sense of ease.
Yes.
But when you're drinking, it's like you're trying to make that connection in a tunnel on a cell phone from like 2000 and it's fuzzy and it's not clear and it's choppy. But if you do that, try to get to that connection without alcohol. It won't happen immediately necessarily, but it will be like you are on the top of a mountain next to a cell phone tower with a state-of-the-art iPhone.
Yes.
And it will feel so clear and so like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's how I'm supposed to show up. It's not that you'll be without anxiety, but you'll know that there's a solution available. And I just couldn't find that as a drinker.
No.
I sensed it was available, but I couldn't hear it, you know?
Yeah, well, so I think you saying it like fuzzy. It's a fuzzy sound, like you're trying to hear it, but you can't hear it. It's so clear when you're clear. And so I'm always telling like my clients, like, and I have some that are trying to cut down the drinking, right? And like slowly get there because they see my journey, my sobriety journey. And I say like, find that meditation, start getting quiet with yourself, start talking to the God, start figuring out that relationship, because I feel like if you're in the world too much, it's too hard.
Yeah.
Like,
it's putting so much pressure
it's so much pressure on yourself. Right. And so having something outside of, spirituality or manifestation or the power of our thoughts, right? Like all of that being such a big thing for changing lives. And, even just with like, I do nutrition and health and fitness. And I tell my clients too, like, as soon as you start eating clean, living clean, working out clean, words are clean in you. Yeah. It's like the medicines they're not prescribing at the doctors.
So good. It's so powerful.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. And it sounds like too good to be true, or a little like Pollyanna, but it's true. We both experienced it.
It literally like has helped my mental health. Yeah. Just eating clean, living clean, words of clean, like what I eat, breathe, listen to, watch changes me. Yeah. And I know that that's not what like our doctors want to prescribe.
Sure. No.
I get that. I'm not against doctors, by the way, or medication or any of that. But I have found it work. I'm sure you have found it work. And then all you want to do is share that with people so that they know what's available.
Yeah.
Like once you get it, you're like, this is for you too.
Yes. You want to have that trickle down effect so that we're just going to be better in this earth if more people are standing in their own personal power, healing themselves, feeling confident, feeling generous and kind versus like woe is me victim mentality or waiting for the other shoe to drop or always keeping up a guard because you have to protect yourself first. Like if we create a space where you feel so grounded and powerful and sure, and that doesn't mean, Romi, I know that you and I probably have both had moments, hell, even within the last week, where you get off path a little bit. Oh, and you get in that negative space.
Before we got here, I had horrible news this morning and I was like, I give up. Yeah. I fucking give up. And then, I did a story because I was like, by coaching others, I have to remember the advice I'm giving others. Yes. And it checks me. Because I'm like, okay, you don't get to, like, the tools. Yes. To get yourself out of this. You don't get to do this. Yeah. But we do break.
Yep. We break. And the thing is, it's not that I don't go off track. It's just that I get back on faster with more ease. And that is the power. That's
and you have the tools. And that's what I tell my clients too. I'm like, you have the tools. So when that happens, because it's going to keep happening, life's going to keep lifing. Yes. How do you get back up? And what tools are you using? Are you going to your resources? Yeah. Are you doing breath work? Are you meditating? Are you taking a moment to like calm down? Are you going for a run? Yeah. What are you doing to get through those pains? Because just because you're sober and life is great and you have your book and you're coaching and you're successful does not mean you're not tested, challenged, and want to just say fuck it all the time. Yeah. Yeah. You do. And I think serving others, I know for me, it saves my life, and I would guide anybody to find in any area in their lives to like offer some service back because it checks you.
Yeah. Even if it's just calling someone and saying, hey, I haven't heard from you for a while. Yeah. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How are things going? Like, it can be as simple as that.
Yes. So then I would ask you, what is one of the greatest things about your identity?
I think so many things that I've just come to appreciate about myself. Yes. But I think that even though sometimes I find myself falling back into old patterns, that my core value for the past 8 years has been authenticity. And I, more often than not, am able to do that and show up authentically and be really clear about who I am and who I want to be, and not conform to what other people need or want from me. And yes, again, do I do it sometimes? Yeah, because it's constantly a reorganizing of a pattern that I've had for decades of my life.
Yeah, it's going to take,
But I'm really proud of that, because that was the first like aha moment I had that I wasn't being myself. And it's just really powerful to commit to finding her.
And seeing her, right? And knowing that you show up as her. You know that you're showing up as your true self.
Yeah,
at least you're trying.
She is flawed and she's quirky and she's weird. And guess what? That's the part of me I tried to hide that is so endearing. People who love me most, that's the thing that they love the most about me. And I've come to appreciate that too, where before I tried to hide it because I thought it was weird and strange. And now I just embrace that I'm weird.
That's what I say. Right? I'm like, I'm such a weirdo. I've like rebranded my page to be like, I'm actually for all of the like underdogs. If you're an outcast, like come to me, because the reality is I am. I'm just weird. Okay. And so if you feel weird, I'm like, this is a safe space.
We're your people.
We're your people. Like come to us, because that's what it is. And it's the lie of I'm this, this, and this. It's like, no, you're just weird, and it's okay to feel comfortable in that, you know? It's okay to be that. I'll ask you this because I always ask everyone this, and I think it's such a great question. What does like the happiest day of your life look like?
You know, I feel like that's a really powerful question, because I can look back at little pieces of my life. Like I told you that day that I was at this festival was like such a joyful day and so fun, and like really just nourished that little inner teenager of me. And so it's days like that. And and that's so weird. Like I was at a hip hop concert, like
I get it,
watching freaking Chingy and Nelly perform on stage. Like but something like that where I can just feel uninhibited on my own without having to put something in my body to make myself feel that way, and feel joyful and let myself feel the magnitude of joy, because so often we stifle that and we don't let ourselves be truly happy. So not that it's that particular day, but harnessing that feeling.
That feeling right there is the feeling I chase. That level of freedom and like real freedom, like just in a space of like inhibited, right? And just like free, but like to get there without alcohol is like a high that is, you know, I was chasing my dopamine chases like my whole life, my highs, my wild side, and to just be like in music and live and people and to feel like that. Yes, I think that's such a good space to be at. So where can everyone find you? Where can they buy your book? Give all the shout outs.
You can find me online. I'm at Amanda Kuda. It's Kuda. And my book is on Amazon. It's called Unbottled Potential, but you can find it on my website or social media. And I narrate the audiobook, which was so special. Amazing. And I think like one of the best ways to consume something is hearing something from
I do a lot of those.
Voice. So I would love if you check it out if you resonated with any of this.
I love this. I'm excited to read this. Thank you. I'm excited to also like offer this to my clients who are going through this. So this is amazing. And thank you for being open to chatting with me.
Of course.
We've never met. I reached out to you. I love that part of like the networking and what we have access to right now. And I just love reaching out to people that I see doing these kind of things. And I was saying the people that I'm interviewing, I feel like are the celebrities that like I see out there that deserve to have a voice and like show what they're doing, because we're putting all these people up there. And I'm like, there's so many like celebrities in our area that are doing such amazing things. And like, I want to hear from them.
Oh, thank you for what you do. And thank you for showing up. And even though you had a shit start to your morning,
day,
pulling it all together and just being a joy. And being
wiped the tears before we started this, and then I put the sunglasses on, and I'm like, we will continue.
Yes, amazing.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. Woo!